So the bike I rode was a carbon frame. It was the S build, priced at $5,299. So the bike has a RockShox Lyric up front and the Super Deluxe Air R in the rear. It has the Eagle drivetrain with the 32-tooth chainring and the 1050 cassette in the back. SRAM Codar brakes and Avid rotors. Race face effect handlebar and stem. DT Swiss hubs and wheels. Maxxis Minion tires with a DHF in the front and a DHR2 in the rear. A couple of the key geometry specs are as follows for the XL frame. You have a reach of 490 millimeters and a wheelbase of 1,251 millimeters. And the head tube angle is 65 degrees with a seat tube angle of 74.5 degrees.
Woo! Going down Hawk Trail, Santa Cruz Nomad. Derek's on a Santa Cruz tall boy. First time going down to Hawk for Derek. Right there. That feels pretty good. Did a double roller on Hawk pretty easy. Hell yeah, baby. Woo! Just got done shooting Hawk Trail with Derek. Climbing up to Chutes again. On the Santa Cruz Nomad. Same drivetrain. Same drivetrain as mine. It's a SRAM 12-speed. This bike actually feels. It's got the same size chainring on the front of 32 as the pivot. This bike's a little longer. It feels like it climbs better.
So this is the uphill section of Mountain Goat Trail to get to the top of Chutes. And this bike has a GX drivetrain. It's got the 32-tooth chainring in the front and the 1050 cassette in the rear. I've ridden a lot of different bikes up this same trail, and it's very difficult, for me anyways, to get to the top without at least one or two stops. This bike climbs just as good as any other enduro bike I've taken up this trail. And it climbed just as well as the Pivot Switchblade, which is a long travel trail bike that I took up this trail earlier that day.
So it climbs decent. I think it would be better if I had a 30-tooth chainring in the front. But it's similar to my Rain. It's exactly the same as the pivot I rode today. Yeah, see this kind of stuff. Whew, that's a leg burner. Yeah, well, that's one way. I'm gonna go this way.
So I had to turn down the volume of the video just a little bit because the wind noise was so bad this day that it was all that you could hear. At one point, Derek went off one of the doubles and a gust of wind hit him so bad that it slid him to the left mid-air about 3 feet and took him off the trail.
Through this bottom section of the trail, and the Fox suspension just ate it up.
All right, so today we're talking about the Santa Cruz Nomad. I had the pleasure of demoing this bike. Probably, God, it's been a while, about a month and a half ago. I'm falling behind on my videos. And I took it out. I had it was a demo day at the Path, and I specifically requested this bike because I actually almost bought this bike before I bought my Rain. But anyways, so it was a Path, got it there, took it over to the luge, and that's where you're going to see the footage today. I was over there with Derek, and we went down Hawk Trail, which, according to the mountain bike project app, is a black diamond trail. And then we went down Chutes Ridgeline, which is a kind of a blue, kind of like the blue square with the black diamond in it. Really fun trail, both really fun trails. And I had a blast. Santa Cruz, it's a California company. They're obviously in Santa Cruz, California. It's kind of the middle of the state. They call it Northern California. But people who live north of Santa Cruz don't call it Northern California anyways. So the bike is great. Most bikes you're going to come across that are the big name brands. I mean, they're all really great bikes. I've only had a couple of all the bikes I've done reviews on and all the bikes that I've ridden. There's only been a couple of things here and there that I've really not liked about the bikes. But when you're talking, Santa Cruz, Giant, even Pivot, the Pivot makes a really great bike. Yeti makes great bikes. Who else? Who else did I ride? Transition is actually a European company, and that bike was amazing as well, the Sentinel. And I would actually like to try a Patrol, but back to the Nomad. It's a great bike. Of course, I'm pretty much sure everything is built in China or Taiwan. It might be Taiwan, but they're assembled at their facility there in Santa Cruz. And just looking at my notes, you know, the frame is warranted for life to the original owner, which is great. Not all companies do that. I know Giant does it. I'm not sure about Yeti. Obviously Santa Cruz does. So I mean that's huge. You know, not most places, most companies like 3 years, 5 years, depending. You know, downhill bikes are like 1 year because they know you're going to be just destroying those bikes. But what's great about Santa Cruz, and is actually kind of their downfall at the same time, is they offer so many choices. I mean, just their line of bikes. You know, the difference between a Bronson to a Hightower, to a Hightower LT, to a, you know, the 5010. There's so many. It's just I don't know how they keep all that stuff straight. Just for instance, the Nomad. There is what, one, two. There's two choices in the aluminum frame. There's 1, 2, 3 choices in their carbon C composite for the frame, and then there's 2 more choices of the CC carbon, which is their top of the line, their latest and greatest. You know, our carbon is the best in the world. So they offer 7 different models of just this one bike, and I mean, just a lot of the parts are interchangeable. Obviously, it's just mainly the frames are a little bit different. I'll go through some of them. So the entry line, the aluminum, there's 2 of the aluminum. The R is the entry product. That one is at $3,599. All of the geometry is the same on the bike. It's just the what the frame is made out of. So the aluminum R, like I said, $35.99. You know, you get pretty good components with that. You get RockShox. RockShox does all of their suspension stuff. You get their entry model, not their entry model, but of their 3, you know, you get the Yari with that. You do get the Super Deluxe Air for the rear shock. And all of these bikes, they all have 170 millimeters of travel, front and rear. One step up, which I think is a good step in the aluminum frame, is the S model. With the S, you get the Lyric front fork, you get the same rear fork, but you get the GX Eagle drivetrain. And, you know, compared to their entry model, the GX drivetrain, you know, you've heard me talk about it before. It's my favorite. It's 12 speeds. It gives you a huge range of climbing ability, and it's awesome. So we're going over the carbon frames. This is the lower build carbon. There are 3 models. There's the R, the S, and the XE. The R is their entry level components. You know, it has the Yari front fork, the Super Deluxe Air, and it has the SRAM NX drivetrain, which I believe is a 10-speed drivetrain. But it has a carbon frame. One step up from there, just the same as the aluminum, is the S. That is also their carbon frame. That comes with the better front fork, which is the Lyric, and it also comes with the GX drivetrain. And then their top of the line model is the XE, and that one's $5,899. Now, moving up into their CC frames, this is their top of the line carbon. This is the carbon that's like, you know, you sit on the bike and, you know, angel's wings come out of you. But that's the X01 and the XX1. The X01 is $7,199. Now, that comes when you get into the top of the line stuff, the 2 top of the line frames here. It comes with the top of the line Lyrics fork. It's the RCT3 that has all of the high speed, low speed compression changing. You know, it's the Mac Daddy of RockShox forks. It also comes with the RCT rear shock, which is a coil shock. So, you know, better low speed compression, stuff like that. Also comes with now the X01 comes with the X01 SRAM Eagle drivetrain, which is lighter, better, faster, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then the XX1 also comes with, that one is $8,199. That's the same as the X01, except it has the very top of the line Eagle drivetrain stuff. That's all the gold. That's the gold rear cassette, the gold chain, all of that kind of things. And these 2 top models, the 2 CC models, also come with the carbon rims. Now the carbon rims from Santa Cruz are ridiculous. I watched a video where a guy rode down a huge flight of stairs. I mean, just in a massive flight of stairs. No tires, no tubes, nothing. Just the bike on the carbon rims, nothing else. I don't know how he controlled it, but he went down this staircase I don't know how many times before he finally broke one of the rims. But he went down like 5 or 6 times. It's crazy video. If you haven't seen it, search it on YouTube, you'll find it. So their carbon rims are crazy strong, which is great. So I'm kind of knocking this out. I'm trying to shorten my videos as far as, you know, just rambling on and stuff. So it's, you know, the initial feel, the bike felt great. You know, it's not, it has 170 millimeters of travel. It's got, you know, suspension changes you can do to make the bike feel better. It feels great. It was a little shorter reach than I'm used to. You know, that's the whole thing with all these bikes. All these bikes are great. It's just a matter of finding the exact right one that's gonna feel the way you want it to feel, as far as reach goes, as far as seat tube angle goes. Everybody messes a little bit here and there. You know, do you want a bike with a longer wheelbase? Do you want a bike with a shorter wheelbase? But the initial feel is great. I mean, it's a great bike. What can I say? As far as climbing goes, now climbing, I always talk about climbing because everybody climbs, unless you're just a downhill guy and you go hit the lifts. You have to climb eventually if you want to go downhill. And this bike, it wasn't the greatest climbing. It was, I don't know. It was comparable to the Pivot that I rode the same day earlier, maybe even a little bit harder, because this bike was a little bit longer, whereas the Pivot was kind of a mid-travel bike. So with the full 170 millimeters of travel, you know, when you lock out the front shock and you lock out the rear shock, you still have a lot of travel. And climbing, you know, maybe if it had a smaller chainring in front, it would have been a little bit easier. But for some reason, I don't know why, a lot of the companies put on a 32 tooth chainring on the front. And I mean, unless you're 150 pounds, which I'm not, I'm well over that, it's going to be hard to climb anything that's relatively steep, other than like a fire road or a paved road, something like that. So, but even still, you know, I've climbed up that ridge in Santiago Oaks a couple times, more than a couple times, on a bunch of different bikes, and it was probably the hardest on the Nomad. Probably the hardest on the Nomad. Not to say that it's super hard and difficult, but it wasn't the best climbing that hill. So now we get, of course, to the downhill part. Now the downhill part was awesome. You know, with the bike that I rode was a carbon bike. It had the Lyric fork up front. It had a great rock shocks. I think it's the Super Air Deluxe in the rear. You know, it's got 10 millimeters more of travel than I'm used to. It felt great. You know, there's also, they have, I didn't realize at the time, there's something called the flip chip. Now the flip chip on the Santa Cruz Nomad, there's a high setting and a low setting. I'm assuming the bike was in the high setting. I didn't know about it at the time. The high setting is for your everyday, normal kind of stuff. Santa Cruz put in this flip chip so it turns down. What it does is it shortens your reach. It tilts the head tube back. What is it? 0.4 degrees. It tilts the seat tube angle back 0.4 degrees. So what it's doing is it's squishing the bike lower and making the bike a little bit longer. So the BB height gets lowered by 5 more millimeters. The standover height is lowered by 6 millimeters. And the overall wheelbase is 1 millimeter longer. Now, 1 millimeter, whatever. But what it's doing, it's squishing the bike down lower. So if you're just at, like, you know, Snow Summit and you're just doing downhill stuff all day, you can flip this little chip and make your bike a little bit better downhill. It's already amazing, you know, and if you're that worried about it, I think you would probably just have a downhill bike. So it just makes it longer, it makes it lower, makes it a little bit more slack, which is kind of cool. I don't know how difficult it is to do. I would assume it's not too hard. but it's a cool little feature. And like I said, going down the luge and going down Hawk Trail. Hawk Trail is a little bit steeper than the luge. There's a couple of pretty steep parts. They're short, but they're steep. It did amazing. You know, you'll hear me hooting and hollering during the video, and it did great. So final thoughts. Final thoughts is, you know, like I said, it's a great bike. It's really hard nowadays to not to find a bad bike. I mean, if you're spending, you know, $3, $4, $5, up to $8,000 on a bike, and it's bad, I don't think that company's going to stay in business for a long time. And Santa Cruz has been around forever, and they make great bikes. They have great customer care, customer quality, you know, manufacturing qualities. Everything's through the roof there. And if it wasn't, they wouldn't be so popular. I mean, I see Santa Cruz bikes probably more than anything else out on the trail. Everybody loves them. They make so many models. It's crazy how many models that Santa Cruz has in their lineup. Like if you look at, say for instance, Giant, right? In 2018, Giant, probably, let's see, they have the Glory, they have the Rain, they have the Trance, and a couple of lower end bikes. They make like some real low end, like hardtail stuff or whatever. But I mean, Santa Cruz, it's like you go on their website and you could be on there for hours looking for bikes and comparing geometries and you know, frames, you know, aluminum frames and the C frame, the C carbon frame and the CC carbon frame. It's really a testament to how much everybody loves their bikes and how much they in turn do as much as they can for the customer by, you know, by not like, oh, we got a better bike, so we're going to get rid of like the 5010, and now if you want something like the 5010, you have to have this bike. No, they keep the 5010 and the High Tower and the High Tower LT. You know, everybody loves the High Tower and they wanted more travel, so they came out with the High Tower LT. So it's great. The company's great. The bike was awesome. You know, I liked the Bronson as well. The Bronson was a great bike. This was much better downhill. I can't say much better downhill. This was better downhill just because it had more travel. The suspension components were probably similar. The Bronson was a little easier to get uphill, and it had a shorter wheelbase, whereas this was much longer and made it more stable on the downhill sections. But great quality, great company. That's about it. You know, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my video. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and a like down below. Something else you can do to help me out would be to share, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you like what you've seen here today. Please click on one of these boxes up in the corners here. One will take you to my rides playlist. The other one will take you to a recent video. And always, you can click on the logo in the center, the Urban Outdoorsman SoCal logo, to subscribe. Thanks a lot.